Hey guys, it's LJ with Groomers Talk. I want to welcome you guys to a special edition, not only because you're part of something special in this one, but also because we are now on YouTube. So if you want to pause this or whatever you're listening to and watch us on YouTube, go ahead. You're more than welcome. That way so you can see me as well as everyone else in this podcast. With this one, we are actually doing it a bit different. It's going to be a little bit longer for sure, just because you get to be part of the classroom that we just did here. So with that, I just did a class at Michigan Canine School of Cosmetology, and we went through everything. If you could think it, we pretty much went through. Now, if you happen to have any more questions after the podcast is done, feel free to reach out to me on Facebook, and we'll make sure we handle all questions you have. Look us up at Groomers Talk. Remember to like, follow, share on all of the podcast stuff on YouTube, on Apple, Shopify, and Facebook, and get all the updates you need. But for now, this is Groomers Talk.
This episode is proudly sponsored by Smith & Burton, creators of professional, natural grooming products from the heart of New Zealand. Inspired by the purity of nature and guided by the principles of science, Smith & Burton carefully craft every formula with your pet's well-being in mind. From nourishing shampoos to gentle conditioners, their products are made with thoughtfully chosen ingredients that not only protect and care for your pet's skin and coat, but also reflect a commitment to quality, sustainability, and love for animals. At Smith & Burton, it's about more than grooming. It's about giving your pets the care they truly deserve. That's why they bring you the natural touch. We invite you to discover the difference today at smithandburton.com. As a special thank you, you'll receive 20% off your first order, no matter the amount. Because caring for your pet should never wait. Choose the natural way with Smith & Burton.
So, good morning to all of you. Now, obviously, you couldn't remember my dog's name. Does anyone remember my name? Pretty darn close. So, my name is Lane. Obviously, I work with Whitman's. So, in addition to Whitman's, I'm also a podcaster. So, I actually have my own podcast called Groomers Talk. You guys are actually going to be part of that podcast today. So, it'll pick up anything you guys say, and you guys get to be part of YouTube and my podcast famous. So, but the other addition that I do is I also am a U.S. and Canadian sales distributor rep for Smith & Burton products. So, give you my quick spiel on them real quick. They do shampoos, conditioners, sprays, one of the best detanglers I've ever used in my life. But they also got wipes, some healing balm, some dermal spray. They've also got dermal shampoo. All of it is all natural. It's all based out of New Zealand. All of their products are from New Zealand, derived from the soil and naturals there, and it is all literally designed. They are all naturally derived from New Zealand themselves, as far as for volcanic ash, the soil there, even the water quality and what the minerals that actually do deposit actually into the rocks. It's actually all put into there. So it is all natural. They are one of the more top premier lines. So they are actually much more higher. So if you were to compare Double K to this is going to be a much higher price point just because of what the quality you're going to be getting afterwards is. But the one benefit side is that your dog's not going to have a reaction. It's going to do exactly what it needs to do to your dog's coat. And it's actually one of the most popular brands around the entire world. The US and Canada are actually the two last places on the globe to actually have it come over here. So they're actually kicking our butts over here in China. France is like one of their biggest go-tos over there. They're huge in Asia, all over there. So, and there's parts of Africa they hit as well. So check them out. But enough about that product, because that's not what I'm here for. I'm sure you guys all want to learn about scissors. So, obviously working with Whitman's, I've been doing this for 27 years. So I'm old. Or at least that's what I tell myself when my kids tell me that. So we happen to have all different types here. So obviously Whitman's makes their own line. It's called the RW Professional. Okay, that's after Ralph Whitman is the owner of the company. So that's why they're called the RW Professional. He's got Pro Line 1, Pro Line 3. And we'll kind of go through the differences of those, as well as we're walking across all the other major brands. So what we've got here is we've got some Kenshis, we've got some Guibes over there, same with over here. As far as for working through everything, we do carry other ones such as Wolf, Heritage, Anvil, Those are our main lines. We try to stick more mainstream, and we'll kind of get into that as we work through this class together. Gibe, Kenshi, and RW, because those are what we got here in front of us. But the biggest thing is that I don't like to diss any other brands, but at the same point, I'm also not going to try to mislead you. So if you've ever got a question, even out of this class, after we get done with all this and you're down the road, you ever got questions, be like, hey, is this a good scissor? I see it online. It's like $23.99 on Amazon. I'll tell you, don't buy it, or you can get it for this reason, or yes, it's a very good one. Get it. It's on a deal. I'm just not going to mislead you. That's how it works. And no, the $23.99 ones are not going to be a good deal. So getting back to it here. I guess we'll start with the basics. Does anyone know how to hold a scissor properly?
Yeah.
And I like her. She's like over here. She's like, yo. So, alrighty. So, I'm going to go through the basics. That way so we just all are understanding with each other. And that way so we all know where we're at. But, obviously, most of you seem like you got it down. Ring finger through the hole. Pinky back on the tang. And one of these two lines here and your other two fingers, depending on where it's more comfortable for you to fit in the hand. And then just the very tip of the thumb. A lot of people push their thumb all the way through, and that's very, very bad. Okay? A lot of people also have all this wiggle room right here. And then what they do is they take their fingers and they do this with it. That is very, very bad. Anyone want to hazard a guess as to why? Yes and no, but yes. Wasn't the one I was looking for, but it's a very good one. So if you hold it like this, or if you put your thumb too far through. Okay?
Not as much control.
Yes, 100%. Yes with the carpal tunnel, 100%. Here's your third reason. If you like these things sharper longer, don't do that. So if you actually look at your hand, you see how I can manipulate my thumb to maneuver how I need it to? Okay, if I just do it straight, you'll see how my thumb naturally curves in. So when you have your thumb shoved all the way in there, it's naturally going to take the pressure of that blade and you're pulling it, which means it's not going to want to cut very well, or you're going to be pushing it, which means it's going to cut really well for you for a very limited amount of time because you're forcing those blades together. So instead of just moving like this, it does this. Okay, and so over time you're going to end up seeing me a lot more. Same way with the fingers. If you got a lot of excess space in here, that is not going to work very well for you on your fingers. Okay, it's going to create a lot of tension, a lot of pressure, and it's going to make it absolutely awful for you. And by the end of your day, if you've done 6 to 8 dogs, I used to do 12 to 14 when I had a bather, and my hands would be on fire if I did that all day. I had to train a whole grooming staff just saying, what are we doing here? So you got to do it like this. And after that, people started having less problems. And just for the record, I'll throw it out there, carpal tunnel surgery does not cure carpal tunnel. So what we do is we have, because we're cool in pink today apparently, because that's on top, we have the inserts. You can get them thicker, thinner. All these handle styles are differently. So anytime that you need some of these, you can get like a 6-pack online. And sometimes a 6-pack actually comes with 3 different sizes. But sometimes they're thick or thin. And it's really hard to judge. So going and actually bringing your pair of scissors in and actually have it done is the best way to do it. And all you got to do is just slide these in there. They're designed to go in there a little bit rough. But that way so it makes it nice and snug around your finger. And makes it perfect just for your thumb sitting in there. You're not trying to force it in there to stick it in there just so it fits comfortably. Once you do this for a long period of time, this will feel so comfortable, it's unreal. Poodle people, because they've been doing this so much and they scissor so much, believe it or not, they don't even put their finger or their thumb in the hole. They actually just keep it right there on the edge and they just work with it. It's very, very simple to use. That's why they make different shanks and stuff like that as well. So that's, and we'll get to that here in a second. But I want to go over the different parts of the scissor for you. That way so you understand kind of what's in your scissor. So obviously we have the bumper back here. Okay, there is what they call a screw-in bumper, which if I had, I can do it. Okay, this one just on screws. Okay, it does fall out when you guys are grooming sometimes. If you guys can find it, put blue Loctite, not red, blue, and you can actually re-put it back in and it should hold it. Once the scissor gets ground down so many times though, I need to start working on grinding this down. Okay, usually happens about third, fourth sharpening, and I start slowly just grinding it down. Once I hit the little metal part in there, I'm kind of screwed. Wow, tough crowd. Anyone had their coffee yet this morning? Red Bull, something, guys. All right, so
Why do you have to grind that thing down?
because if I don't and I start grinding this down, your tips are not going to meet. You're going to have a gap, and then you're going to be very upset. So I grind this down a little bit and makes the handles close a little bit more, so your tips come together. So what I do at that point, once it hits the metal part inside here, is I should take this one out, and we have what is called a pull-through bumper. They come in big and small as far as for thicknesses. Okay, these I literally just pull straight through, and then I just cut the excess off that I don't need. So with that, there's no metal in these whatsoever. I can grind these down to where they're pretty much flat. Okay, once I finally get to that point, I can grind a little bit on the handles on each side if I need to, a little bit that way, so it gives me a little bit better clearance. But once I start getting to the point to where that's too thin, the bumper's too thin, and the scissors still working good, I start working on the tips. Okay, I start slowly working down the scissor. Otherwise, you're going to have blood points, they ain't going to want to work. And the reason why they're not going to want to work over time, once you get to those blood points, especially when you get with longer scissors, is that each of these blades, no matter if it's straight, curved, thin, or chunker, every blade has an internal twist. Okay, you can't see it just by looking at it, but the way that they actually forge it is it starts flat. That's why the heel usually stops working first after so many sharpenings, and then work it all the way out, and it actually twists that way, so it keeps the pressure all the way out. So it's a little bit more advanced than what it used to be. It used to be just two flat pieces of steel. They stuck an edge on it and said, good luck. Now they've actually got things that make it last longer for you, so you're not having to sit there and try to work on the scissor. So, and here, I'll let you guys pass that around so you guys can see what a pull-through bumper is like. Most sharpeners do happen to have those. So, from there, you obviously have the screw, okay? Most scissors nowadays have a lot of this style, which actually has the tension knob, tension plate, the screw on the back end, or they have like a little screw to where you actually need this piece, kind of like a lot of the guides over there, to where you actually got to loosen it with a special tool. Okay, it's very rare that it'll fall apart on you guys, but I have had it happen at least once every 3 months. I got a customer who calls, says it fell apart. So the basics of it are very simple. So if you have something like this, it's a lot more components, but then you got other ones that are just plain, which I had it here this morning, just a plain screw. That's all it is. If you ever have it to where tensioning is loosening, okay, it's very, very easy to fix. Depending on the screw, sometimes I got to spread them, sometimes I just crunch some threads down. Works. Okay, with these ones it makes it a little bit more difficult, but these ones usually have less problems because it's already all adjusted. It's got little, thank you sir, it's got little bumps in there, that way so you can actually click it right into where it needs to go. So it's got little grooves on the back of this that click into those bumps. So you got your tension knob, you got your tension plate. Okay, then sometimes the plate will actually be inside. So if you don't got like a big knob like that on the top, sometimes it's like a small knob that needs that special tool. That tension plate's actually on the inside of the scissor itself. Okay, and then you get your screw. Now here's the important part that everybody loses, and you will do it too, to guarantee you, is that you got the hole and you got the screw. But if you actually look on here, there's little black pieces on here. Those normally come black or white, but they're little fiber washers. Basically, they're spacers and be able to give it a little bit better action flow. They wear out from time to time. Okay, so if you see a scissor repair on one of my invoices, it was either a bumper, I had to fix something with the handles, or it was one of these little guys that go on here. If I took it out, one is the scissors going to act really, really grippy, like it's not going to want to act smoothly. Two is that it's not going to want to actually tighten down all the way, because the way that this works is you put it in round hole first. Okay. Now they have the other side, and this is how it makes that screw move, is square. The other side of that screw in here, square. So you put that on there, and if that square part comes up above where that tension plate is supposed to be, it'll bottom out, and then you can't tighten it down all the way. Okay, so it is very important to have those. They are not very expensive. They're only like $5 for me to take apart the entire scissor, put it in there. It's really, really super easy. You can buy them from me if you guys wanted to do it. I'm not picky. But after that, and I will emphasize this, there is no correct tension on a scissor for every scissor for you to stick in your box. And I'll emphasize on this. Reason why is I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every scissor I put here, there's no right or wrong way to do it. What I'm telling you is that every scissor is different. Okay, just because I have a full convex here that's a much lighter weight RW, and I could probably let it go and it'll fall on its own and do its own thing, great. But every scissor has a different twist, has a different weight, has a different metal, has a different style. They all now go by feel. Okay, your sharpener should be pretty smart enough, because us here at Whitman's, we try to make sure that when we get done with your scissor, we set it where it needs to be. It can go 1 or 2 clicks at most each direction if you need to. I usually try to stay within that 1 mark, because otherwise it could make it too tight, too loose, and then you could either gouge the other side by having it too loose, or you can just prematurely dull it by having it too tight. Okay, so doing the whole beauty line trick of doing this to see how it's going to fall, it's not a thing. It's all by hands now and how it feels. So that is just something that hopefully your sharpener or whoever you're buying scissors from automatically sets it for you. You can ask them to do that. That way so you know once it gets there, because most scissor companies out there do have lifetime or at least limited time warranty. If you make them set it and there's still something wrong, it's way easier to go back to them and say, it's your fault because you set it for me. That's very, very easy to do. One thing I will tell you guys here is that when you're working with all of these, okay, no matter what scissor line you look at, it could say Japanese steel. I could show you right now on Amazon, $25 pair that says Japanese steel. Biggest load of crud I've ever seen in my life. It's a stamp. You could buy the stamp from anywhere. You go down to Joann Fabrics, actually stick it in a machine. And, well, it used to be Joann Fabrics, now it's probably Hobby Lobby. But
Rest in peace, Joanne.
I know. And the fabric. So, but it's literally just a stamp they put on there. So it does not mean that it's Japanese steel. Okay. Now, with certain brands like Kenchi or the RWs, it is Hitachi or Titachi steel. That is actually the 2 purest steels you can get in the entire world. Okay, so what that means for you guys is, one is they're going to feel smoother, they're going to cut cleaner for you, and on top of it, the sharpenability is better on them. If you throw in a Cobalt with a 440C steel, throw them together, and they might not even be high quality steel, we'll just say you might have gotten out of China or something, no diss to China, but with that, you might not get a very good edge. The ride line might not turn out very well. And we'll get into that because I know that's we haven't gotten there yet. But it's all going to depend on how that is going to work for you. So all of this is going to hopefully make a full circle on it for you. So now, before I get into the scissor specifics, as far as what makes up each scissor and how they would operate for you guys, I do a little morals and ethics here, to where I usually have a little display, usually a big PowerPoint. Doesn't like this TV for some reason. I have 3 bubbles, and they're all inside of each other. In the center is what? What's your ultimate goal? Okay? That small little bit is what you're trying to get to. The next one is why. Why are you trying to get to that ultimate goal? Okay? And the big one is how are you going to get to that ultimate goal? Okay? You got to think about all of this. Now, I bring this up just because I have a lot of customers over the years that they're like, well, you can make my $50 King Stars work great. Well, I'm happy you're satisfied with that. Can I do it? For some of them I can, with some of them I can't. It all just depends because it's cheaper metal usually. But trying to explain to them the different metals and what it can do for you, how it can do the longevity for you guys, how it can make your job easier, how you guys get to see me less possibly, how it's going to affect your hand, what it's going to do for your groom. Everything with scissors will affect what you do on your groom. Okay, I'm not sitting here trying to say go out and buy the $5,000 pair. That might not be the pair you need, but at least get into something that's what you need it for. That's actually at a good price point. Looking at, like, for instance, you can look at a Guide Gator. Their thinners are, I think it's $99 right now.
That's what all of us have.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And when you compare that to something from Amazon, like the King Stars, at Guide Gator, yes, it was $50 more, but it's going to perform and last longer for you. Okay. And then obviously from there, we'll get into all the other technical stuff. So I want you guys to keep that in your mind. I don't get into it too much in my clipper class because clipper blade does what a clipper blade does. Obviously with the repairing of your clipper blades and obviously your clippers as well, take you into a very big effect of that. But scissors is where I like to focus because that is all done by your hands and how you operate with what you do. Okay. And I say this very generously. I let people know if you're in here because you think it's going to be just easy. I'm going to be the side mom hustle that's going to just do 1-2 dogs. I'm going to love my life and do my thing. I wish you luck. This class probably isn't going to do much for you because I want you guys to learn. I want you guys to grow. I know people who've done this for years and are making definitely 6 figures. I also know other people that have done this for years and they're scraping by just as much as I am. Because I guarantee you all can make a lot more money than I am. Because I don't make that much. So, let's get into the scissors a little bit. So, any questions, thoughts, feelings, concerns, angry, upset, misplaced?
I like that.
Yes.
I'm in the UP, and I don't know if there's like any sharpeners or anything up there, so can I talk to you later about either sending my stuff to you guys or if there's people up there that you guys know?
Yeah, so there's a couple people up there in the UP I can definitely take care of. There's me, there's Groom Factory here in Michigan that does mail-in work. There's several other people in and out of state that do accept mail work. So, we could definitely get you connected to wherever you want to go and kind of what you're looking for, no matter if it's us or somebody else.
Okay.
So, all right, so we'll kind of get into scissors here a little bit as far as for explaining the differences in them. So we'll start with the handles. Okay, you got your handles. You can see these ones are even fingers. Okay, so that's what they call an even handle. That was really hard. Okay, next one. At least people are starting to laugh. Okay, we're starting to get somewhere. Coffee's kicked in. Okay, if you guys need more, I have more. Alrighty, now you have these ones. See that it's not up and down. It's at an angle. Okay, that's what they call an offset. Okay, the really cool part about the offset is that this never used to exist till about the early 2000s, late 90s. But what it made a difference in is if you were to operate this scissor, the whole blade, look how far I got to open up my hand. That's a long way to operate that whole blade, especially when you get to a big scissor. Now, when you got an offset, I'm not having to open up my hand. No, I'm not having to crank that sucker open. It's a lot easier on the hand. It usually works a little bit more ergonomic with your hand, so it fits in your hand more comfortably as well. So carpal tunnel might not be as strong of an issue. Okay, so this usually is a little bit less strain on the hand, a little bit less strain on the blade itself, and it's also going to save you possibly some money in the future. Okay, they do make what they call a super short on there. It's a lot of what poodle people use, and it's usually about the $300+ range. To where instead of having it just slightly offset, it's massively offset. Okay, with it being massively offset, it puts it right up there, and that way so it fits perfectly in your hand. Most of the time, those are for strict finish work only. I've not met anyone who does a bevel in that yet, just because that's such a fragile handle style to work with. Okay, one thing I do like to point out while we're also standing here is swivels. Okay. Swivels are a great invention. I am not going to sit here and diss swivels whatsoever. I am going to diss everyone that misuses them. Everyone thinks that swivels, you just keep floating your thumb on there in whatever direction you need it to go, it's going to work perfect. We all just kind of went through a quick Proco class. Anyone have an idea why you don't want it just to keep floating? Nobody. The tension will end up dulling it because what you're doing is every time you turn your hand and turn your thumb, you're putting a different pressure on that. That blade can only hit so many different times at different angles and so many different pressures before it starts dulling. So the whole idea with a swivel thumb is actually to swivel it to where it is comfortable to you guys and tighten it. There's a reason there's a screw on there. Now they have their double swivels. There's nothing you can do with the double swivel. Yeah, that one's just going to rotate up and down. Okay, but at least you can turn it to where it's at least comfortable for you. Okay, it does. They have shown that yes, it does help with some carpal tunnel issues, some with arthritis issues as well. Just for the mere fact that you can turn it a little bit more comfortably. But just put it in your fixed location, tighten it. Otherwise, you're putting a lot of different pressures on that blade, and you're going to be seeing a lot of me. So now we have different styles of handles as well. Okay, so now we just discussed the shanks. Now you can actually, along with that bumper making it last a little bit longer and your scissor lasting a little bit longer, is you can slightly, and I use that term very broadly, slightly. I have people that'll take a crescent wrench and they slam it and it has a whole huge rainbow effect to it. That is not how this works. Okay, it's just very light taps that we usually do, and we can bend these handles. Now, if you were to look at the Heritage, okay, that is a hard stamp process. Okay, what that means is they did a very hard Rockwell on there. They formed this half of the scissor via CNC machine or hand or whatever they did. Then they had this side formed, and they heated both sides up and stamped them together. Usually when you do that, it gets really, really, really hot, which ruins a Rockwell, and if you try to bend the handle, it'll snap it. Okay, to where it with a lot of Kenshis, even like you got Gators, they've done a very light stamping process on the Gators, but otherwise you have what they call a weld process. So they put them both together and actually weld it. Some are actually made now completely by CNC machine. Just as like the RWs, it is actually all put in a mold. CNC machine cuts it all out and everything, so you don't got to worry about that process in it. Okay, so it is important to know that, or at least have your sharpener know, what type this is. It's important for you guys to know when you guys are buying scissors. Is this something that I can bend the handle on a little bit if I need to? You might shock the salesperson, because they probably have never heard that question before. But it is one that you can ask, because you obviously want something that's a little more durable as far as for being able to bend that handle to get you a little bit more longevity. At the same point, if you drop that sucker really good or throw it at your girlfriend or your boyfriend, as much as I'm not going to cover that bill, if you hit the handle hard enough, it could snap it, or it could really, really, really bend it. It might not be fixable as well. So still just be careful with it. Yes.
What exactly does bending it do?
So it takes that bumper. So when you lightly bend it, it actually takes that handle and bends it up like this. So it's got a little bit more movement that it can have in there.
So it makes the scissor last longer, hypothetically.
Yes. That way, so you can keep using it over time, because all scissors get there. They start wearing out in the heel, but the rest of the scissor works great. So you can grind down the bumper as far as you can. You can work on the tips a little bit, and you can bend that handle a little bit. Okay. Now, we'll spend a little bit of time on this here real quick, because I'm not doing as bad as I thought. So we're going to do a little bit of maintenance here real quick with you guys. So you obviously have your shank. You have the heel of the scissor on this side. And then this whole centerpiece right here where the scissor pivots is called your crest. Okay? Not that most people are going to know that, so you guys are all now special. But the biggest thing is you want to keep it clean. Anyone want to hazard a guess as to why? Very good. Build up. That was you, right? Oh, that was you? Okay, cool. I looked over here and all of you were looking at me. I was like, I don't know which one it was. I didn't catch it. So, but no, very good. There's build up. What that does, it creates a lot of pressure, one, on the screw. Two, what it does, it creates a lot of pressure on those washers, so those washers will wear out faster on you. And three, it'll actually make your scissor rust, because it gets all that hair in there. So what you want to do is, you'll see on the table, you got all these little oils. Okay, you'll see this stuff is almost like water. A lot of oils on the market are like a gel form almost. They're not bad for your scissor, but they're not necessarily what I like to call good. The reason why is because once you get it in there, if that gel doesn't come out, what's going to happen to all the hair that you end up grooming that day? It gets sucked right into that hole, and then you're still having to tear your scissor apart, clean it. It's a nightmare. So this is more like a rubbing alcohol base, to where you can actually put it right in there. You put it on each side of the crest, flip it over each side of the crest, and actually work your scissor back and forth. And you can wipe some of your hair off, obviously, put more in there if you want to. And before one of you asked me, you do not need to put oil all the way down the blade. That is personal preference. It's not going to help or hinder you. So if you want to save some money, just do it in the crest, and that's all you need to do. I recommend doing that every single day. If you do not want to see me that often, spend a lot more money. Okay, it's just a normal routine maintenance. These are like $9. Yeah, $9 for these. Okay, the other thing that I do right before I do that is these little cloths. Okay, I don't got one open, and I'm not gonna dirty one right now, but basically these little cloths are like jewelry rags. Okay, to where instead of polishing silver, it's actually got a little film on it that's actually designed to help clean up your scissors, take the bad bacteria off, any extra condensation, any humidity. And before any of you guys tell me in your shop that you guys don't got humidity, y'all are foolish. But with that, doing that every day, just opening up that scissor, cleaning off your crest on both sides, then wiping on the outside of the blade, not on the inside. You will slice yourselves wide open, especially if I just sharpened it. I cannot tell you how many times I've had people say, your scissor's too sharp, and I said, that's your fault. Because no right person goes from the inside and takes their finger down it. Always from the outside, just wipe it down. You can do it a couple times on each side, and then put your oil on. Doing that will actually keep your scissors sharper 50% longer. It'll also keep all your extra corrosion off of it as well. And those are only like $6. The coolest thing is the dirtier they get, the better they work. So till you stop feeling that film, you don't got to replace it. So once you stop feeling that film, it's for an everyday groomer once a year. That's all you got to do. So very simple, very easy. Now, you want to hand me one of those right there at the very end of that black sheet? Okay. So I know all you guys got these. Okay. Obviously, these are guide gators. These are just longer ones that I'm sure you guys have. If you were to look at them, I'm going to tell you the edge. Okay. So there's a difference between bevel, convex, and semi-convex edges. Okay, a bevel is literally to where they've put the steel there, they either stamp the handle on there, weld the handle, whatever, but they just have a edge right here on the very edge of the scissor on both sides. Okay, it's not designed to make it look pretty. It's literally designed for bulk work. It's designed that way so you guys are more than welcome to hack near a foot, hit a nail. It's going to take more of a beating. Okay, I'm not going to say that all bevel scissors are like that. Again, if you go to Amazon, buy their $25.99 pair, they use a really, really soft steel. If it hits the nail, you're going to feel it, and it's going to dull the scissor. It's for something more quality, like guide gators, for instance, that those are actually a little bit harder steel, designed to take a little bit more of a beating. So if you hit a nail, throw it at your girlfriend. It's very, very easy to pick back up, keep on using again. Okay, so I try not to throw it at people, but you know what? I've seen a lot of weird things. I've seen a pair of scissors sticking out of a wall, and I says, what happened? We got frustrated that day. So apparently. So, but yeah, she actually got it stuck in the stud, which is very impressive, actually. But yeah, so these are your bulk works. Okay, I have a lot of people that say, I want a scissor that one fits all. I can get you close, but I'm never going to get you there. The reason why is because if you're doing bulk work, you need this. If you're doing more fine-tuning work, I can get you a semi-convex or convex scissor. But if you're trying to do bulk work with it, you're going to see me a lot more because it's not designed to do that. It's a softer steel, usually out of a lot nicer quality steel, but usually much softer. But it's not going to take that beating, unlike a hard steel bevel. Okay. When you get into a semi-convex, and I'll actually grab another pair from over here because it's very easy for you guys to see. And I'll grab pink because, you know, I'm sure everyone loves pink. I like the one little voice in the back. Yay! So obviously we have the Kenchi pink poodles here. Okay, these are what they call a semi-convex. Now you can get a semi-convex anywhere from $100 pretty much all the way up to $5,000. To where bevels normally start, depending on which brand you're using, start at $25, and most average top $150. Okay, there are a few lines out there that $300. Yes, most of those are like old school Utsumis, and not too many people make them anymore. But with a semi-convex like this one's $269. But the biggest thing is you'll still see a bevel on here. Now, if you were to compare it to a gator, you see a very shiny bevel compared to a very flat bevel. What that tells you is that this has a high luster bevel. Okay, what that high luster bevel does is it actually gets rid of a burr for you. So when you stick that on a machine, all you're literally doing is sticking it in the clamp and you're moving it back and forth and putting an edge on it. It's a lot more complicated than that. Do not try that at home because it's a lot more that goes into it. That's the simplest form for you guys to understand. When I do this, I definitely do put it on that white wheel to get the burrs out, and I put it in the gray wheel to finish it, and then that high luster part, there's actually a diamond wheel I actually put right on it that way so it takes all the burrs off. Otherwise, if you try to do it the other way, you're going to destroy the scissor. And the reason why you're going to destroy the scissor, if you actually look on the inside, and it's going to be very hard to see from this distance, so we'll pass all these around for you. is that you'll see a ride line. It starts at the heel, and you're wiggling the light. It's shiny, and it goes all the way to the tip. Okay, those actually get done, and I'll show you here on these stones. Okay, these stones, we actually sit there, take the entire scissor apart, and we actually work on these by hand, actually honing these out. There are some machines that do help us get those ride lines in there all the way, because sometimes the twist is too aggressive in the scissor and it doesn't want to get it in the heel at all. So we do have machines that can help, but we always do like to finish with the stones, so it gives you that smooth feel. Okay, now doing that ride line in conjunction with that semi-convex with that high luster bevel, that's going to give you that smooth feel, but also a much cleaner cut. Now, to kind of put this more in layman's terms for you, is you take a beveled scissor right here. You can take out that much hair if you really wanted to, as long as it's not super thick. You know, you could pretty much take out 2 inches of hair. Semi-convex, 1 inch at most. That's all you want max. It's not designed to do big bulk work. It's literally just designed to do more fine-tuning work. Okay, so 1 inch is absolute max. So if you're working on a leg and actually working your way down, you pick up that foot. All I use my semi-convex for is just shaping that whole leg all the way around. So I may be taking about that inch, 3/4 of an inch at most. Okay, it all depends if you guys do the guard combing, you know, on the legs first, which I normally do. Okay, and then we'll go to our last one here, and I want to get a really good one that way so you guys can see these here. Grab one of these ones here. Alrighty. Now we'll go back to another Kenchi here. This is the Kenchi 5-star. This is a $148 thinner. Okay. So with that, this is a full convex. Now what that means is that I've still went to my stones, and I've still done it on my stones. Okay. But instead of sticking it on the other machine, or I stick it in the clamp and I just put a quick edge on it, I actually go over to what they call a hamaguri machine. Okay. And this is why a lot of sharpeners don't get one of these. So if you ever end up having semi-convex or convex, one, make sure they have the stones. If they do not give them your stuff. They will ruin it. And me ever getting that ride line back into it would be an absolute nightmare, because the chances of it are very low. Okay. The other side of it, if they do not have the hamaguri machine, the hamaguri machine is literally just a black little box, and it's got like these little discs up on the top of it. And I actually have to hand sit there and work out that scissor so it gets that wedged all the way to the tip. Okay, if I don't do that, it's not going to want to work. It's still going to want to fold hair for you. So we have to make sure that we are extremely accurate all by hand. It takes a lot of years to get it down. A lot of people cannot do it. So it takes a lot of gift by hand, but it gives you your ultimate cleanest cut that you can possibly get. But again, put this more in layman's terms for you. You're not taking an inch off. You're going to take about half an inch. That's most of what you're going to want to do with it. Because if you do any more than that, you're going to dull the scissor very, very, very quickly. It's literally designed for straight fine-tune work only. Yeah, we had the box truck. Our van was down. Somebody blew the motor. It's what I get for picking him up from a Love's gas station. Anyways, if anyone doesn't know, this is Mike. So... And he's also the Love's gas station guy. If you guys follow anything from the All-American Grooming Show, he was very popular on there that weekend. So we all did a class there, just to kind of give you guys a little bit of background real quick. Is we all did a class there, and he was my Vanna White. They set me up on stage there, and they did. What's that?
At a gas station?
No, at the All-American Grooming Show.
Oh.
Love's gas station. That's what I thought too.
Sorry.
I know you were doing that bad, man.
You have no idea. So, yeah, tip your sharpener. But no, so we're at the All-American Show. They set you up on a stage. Okay. There's not very much that you can show people and get it in their hands while you're up on this stage, because you're teaching the class. So I got Mike over here. I says, hey, could you help us out? Well, we ended up making him kind of like, we gave him the backstory. He says, I picked him up from a Love's gas station, so if anyone, likes to make him feel appreciated, let him know. And everyone teased him the entire weekend about being there. And then we had a couple other people that loved that he would go there with his hand. He was frickin' Vanna White all weekend long. So he rides on the coattails of his fame that weekend. Okay, Mike.
Yeah, famous for the weekend.
Yeah, see, it's not as bad. At least I got them from gas station to sharpeners, so we get paid a little bit more. So, but obviously when you get into a full convex, you're going to be spending anywhere from that low $100 range all the way up into that $5,000 mark as well. Okay. Now, I'm going to pass these around to you guys. You guys can pass them per table, look at them. I want you guys to see the difference. If you guys don't see the difference, let me know. I want to show you guys that way. So when you go there, you're not having to rely on some salesperson that's just trying to sell this to you. You're actually going to be like, yo, I'm educated. That's not what you're selling me. That's my whole goal with this. So I will send these over this table and you guys can work them around over here. Okay. Now, real quick is I do want to go over straights and curves as far as for finished scissors. Okay. When we make a scissor, okay, no matter if it's handmade by one of the machines that they just got to do it by hand or if it's CNC machine made, you can actually have a curve be a convex or a semi-convex. Reason why is because most of them, unless it's CNC machine done, most of them are actually all done straight. So when you get a curved one, what they do is they actually stick in this little warmer, warms them all up. They pull it out, stick it to the wall, and they have this bar, clamps it right to the wall. Then they have a guy, and it's really cool. I can actually send you guys a video. It's really, really cool. He literally sits there and he just goes like this. So, but no, he literally sits there and that's all he does. He has one scissor that he's got to match. And he literally sits there bending all day. He brings it down, doesn't match, and he bends it again. If he needs to bend it the other way, he literally flips the scissor around on the bar and he bends it the other way. That way so it matches. There's pluses and minuses to both sides of that. The plus side is that it's a really, really good, convenient, cheap way to actually get your scissors curved. The downside is what it does to that blade, sometimes it'll separate that blade. So when you close the scissor, all of a sudden you got this big of a gap sitting in there in your scissor. Okay? It's not a huge ordeal, but it can affect how that blade closes. If it's missing in the back but hitting in the tips, someone bent that incorrectly. Okay? Because you want that to be all the way down. That's why CNC machine-made scissors usually have a much better job because they're all within 1/1000th of an inch. Okay, so very little that they can screw up on, that it's pretty much going to be there. I'm not going to say there isn't any faults, but it's less likely for it to happen. You're not going to know if they got a Chinese guy back over there doing anything, again, not racist, doing anything as far as for, bending it or not. You can ask them. Most of your sales guys are not going to know. But you can kind of tell when you close a scissor, you'll notice it. If there's a big, huge gap, it's probably not a good choice. Okay. The other side of it is obviously I just showed you that they bent it. This is flat. Flat. No way for me to put a real ride line in a scissor. So what people do, and I didn't bring it up here, but I should have, is they actually have a little deburring stone. Okay, so for ones like where we have thinners or chunkers that's got a little bit extra burr in it, we actually rub it right out. What you can do with the deburring stone is pretty much having it completely flat, and you can put a fake ride line in there. And I can hand wedge it all the way out on the Hamaguri machine. Does it work? Yes. Might it last as long? You get a 50-50 shot of it lasting just as long, or maybe a little bit less. The other side of it is that it might not feel as smooth. Okay, there are some that I've done it as a full convex because they work out smoother. There's some that I do as a semi-convex because it won't work the other way at all. And then there's some that I just bevel because it isn't going to work. It all depends on the metal quality. If you got a much nicer metal quality into it, you're definitely going to get a much better result of doing that. Now, with thinners, I can do it with curved thinners as well. It's not as common. Again, the durability factor of it's not going to be as nice. It's not going to be as smooth as what you would get from the factory, but it's going to be very close. There are some that I still do bevel because they just don't work. Now, getting into chunkers. With the chunkers, obviously I can sharpen those. I never sharpen them as a convex. Okay, reason why is when you got a very big tooth hitting a very thin blade, if you put a full convex and have that very fine edge right there on that end, that big tooth's going to come and take a chunk out of that blade. So everything is done as a semi-convex. Now, if it's straight, that is very, very easy for us to do. Obviously, we go to the stones, go to our sharpening wheel, go back to the stones, go back to finish it off on the sharpening wheel, done. Okay? Takes me roughly about 25 minutes. Now, for a curved one, can't do that. So, I put a bevel on it. I put my deburring stone, and I take it across my diamond wheel so it takes the burr off. And I do the same on the tooth side for the chunkers as well. Sad part about the chunkers being curved, most of the time they come out very, very, very choppy. They do not finish out very well. So I try to discourage. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there aren't good ones out there. I mean, even Ralph makes his line with the curved chunkers. But I don't like sharpening them as much because the compatibility rate for them actually meshing together as far as for per blade and actually having a nice, smooth, clean cut is actually very low. Man, that was close. But to go on this, I'm not a huge fan of Magic Shears, but at the same point, they do have some good quality stuff, and I will say that Magic Shears actually, I want to say about 75% of the time, their curved chunkers do tend to turn out a little bit smoother. So on the same point, I think I'm not going to get myself in trouble by telling y'all what's in it and whatnot, because I don't know 100%, but I feel like the steel is a little bit softer in some of their stuff as well. So there's a catch-22 to it, but they usually do turn out a little bit better in the Magic curved chunkers. So now we'll kind of dive over here just real quick, that way so you guys have an understanding. I'm trying to find where I put all my stuffs, because he put out all my sheets today. So here's my other ones. How you doing today?
So good.
So good? Yeah? Alrighty. So, now obviously you can get chunkers long, big tooth or small tooth, or short. Okay? Short's great if you're working on small dogs. I'll give you a quick tip here for all you groomers. Chunkers are your friend when it comes to Yorkies. Okay? Because every Yorkie person I've ever met in my life likes to keep that skirt. They say, oh, can you please keep my skirt? And then you're combing or brushing, scissoring with a straight scissor, combing and brushing, and feel like you're there 500 times trying to straighten it up. A chunker once, maybe twice, that you'll have to do it. It just evens it all right out there for you. It makes it look more natural. It does a really good job. You know, it was something that didn't make sense to me. I just do it, and it works great. It was something I got taught by another professional groomer, and I've now been using that technique for 10 years. So it is a great, great idea to use it on there. Now, as far as for the length, that's all more dependent on you as far as for what you want to be sat with, because you can get them all the way down from 6.5 all the way up to an 8.5. Okay, they do not make a 10-inch chunker. Anyone who does, I'd be very wary about using it, because that's a lot of teeth, a lot of tension that should be in that blade. Doing that much on a 10-inch for a chunker that's got a lot of spacing in there, that's a lot to ask for those teeth and the blade on top of it. Now, biggest difference is when you go from small teeth to big teeth, okay, is the big tooth designed to hog out a lot more hair. So if you're working on like a newfie and they want it totally scissor jobbed, this works great for just bulking out that leg. But it's definitely not going to make it look pretty. It's designed to make it look very choppy. To where this one is not going to take out as much, but it's going to make it look a little bit cleaner. Okay, so that's my spiel on the chunkers. Here, I'll pass all these around so you guys can see them. Well, those will at least give you the tooth differences you guys can see. Now, with that, you can go two different ways. You can go either a thinner way, okay, or you can go a blender way. Okay, this one's, where's my black one? Here it is. Alrighty, so a thinner. Okay, if you look at the teeth, could be semi-convex, could be convex, but if you look at the teeth, there's one V per tooth. That means one cut, one single swipe. Okay, so no matter what you're working on, if it says 44 teeth, that's all you're getting out of it. Now, obviously, there is still that old adage, closer together and the finer the teeth are, the better the cut. Okay, so obviously if you're looking at like a normal 44 tooth, that's a standard.
Hey there! Have you checked out Naturally Inspirational yet? They offer some amazing products for both you and your pets. Their Dandelion Salve is a total game changer. It's perfect for easing aches, pains, bumps, and bruises. Plus, it's a natural healer for your dog's cuts, a moisturizer for their pads and nose, and can speed up wound healing by 50%. I use it for myself, my family, and all the animals in our care, and it's truly worked wonders. Don't miss out. Head to their website to grab your bottle today. And when you use the code GROOMERSTALK25, you'll get 20% off your first bottle. Get yours now and experience the difference at naturallyinspirational.biz.
This is like more like a standard fine tooth on there. That's what you're going to be getting. Now they have one step up above that. They have what they call a blender. So if you actually were to put your finger or even look really, really close and put your nail in the teeth, you'll notice that it's got a stair-step design, which also, if you put your nail in there, has 3 V's per tooth. So take a 44 tooth, triple the number. Okay? It's going to be cutting like a 126 tooth. It's going to be very clean, very fine. Now, for straight-coated dogs, this is amazing. For my wife, she loves using on her curly-coated dogs, especially for like around the ears. I'm old school. I don't do that. I am very much of a person. I love my straights because I can always get a better finish with my straights. I just want to let you know we were saying a lot of bad things about you. Well, not me. They were, so. Okay. But these, if you make a hole with your guard comb, you can actually take it all the way around the hole and it will blend it into your work so it doesn't look like there's a hole. If you got a lot of stragglers, this will help take care of the stragglers. Okay. This didn't come out till early to mid 2000s when this technology came out. RW has done a very good job of replicating, but Kenshi's pretty much the one who's made this market. Okay, Kenshi's like #1 for making these. Now you can obviously again get these from Amazon, but if you were to get those and actually compare the teeth and how much of a step these have in them compared to what Amazon's got, Amazon's almost got them to where it's 3 V's, but it's almost flat. That's no step. That's just 3 V's in there. That step actually cuts it in steps that way so it actually will blend it where it needs it instead of just cutting it 3 times. Okay, so that step in there actually does make a difference for you guys. So, and I can send those around. I'll let you start there and work your way around with those. When you get into a normal blender series, you're going to be looking at about $260 plus. I have seen a couple for $200, but they have not stayed in production very long. So that's kind of my spiel that I've got time for today. So obviously keep in mind with everything I've said here today, you guys can always call, text me personally with questions, stuff like that. I usually try to be very open with everyone, even if it's not something I'm selling. I try to let you know honestly what's going on with it. If it is a good brand, not a good brand, is this going to work for your style? I'm old school. I do everything with straights. I do very little with curves and very little with blenders. Straights and thinners are my go-to. Now, you guys are probably all going to be different in one way, shape, or form or another, and you guys are all going to learn different techniques. Okay, it's a growing process. I want you guys to leave this class to know what your ultimate goal is, why you want to get there, and how you're going to get there. Because if you look at this and say, well, I got taught this at school, this is how I'm going to work. School is amazing. It does a lot of great things. But the downside of it is that you're still here for a very limited time. And there's people that can give you a lot of extra skill just by going outside of this room and actually getting practical experience at an AKC dog show or going to a grooming competition. Believe it or not, after people get done grooming up there, they can't shut up about their groom. Okay? It's both a blessing and a curse because my wife is one of them. She's won first place with her Bashan. And she did a great job. Since then, she's gotten a lot better because she's watched other people's Bashans. She's went up and asked them afterwards, like, hey, I did this. But that was only in the beginner class, and you guys have turned out much better than me. Can you please tell me a secret? And I'm not going to lie, there's been some things she's been told, I'm like, that is absolute horse crap. But you know what? If it works for you, because I can't do that. My wife will sit there and finish with an entire pair of curves. I can't do that for the life of me. I'll gouge the tar out of that whole head. But you know what? You give me a pair of straights, I can give you the most beautiful top knot you probably have ever seen in your life. But that's what I mean. Everyone's different. Everyone's got different techniques. Don't stop learning. Don't stop trying. Don't stop going out there and getting new experiences, talking to new people. Our field is actually one of those, unless you get into one of the shop wars. They're one of the most open fields you can get into as far as for sharing thoughts and ideas. Take advantage of it all. Take advantage of going to the classes. Take advantage of, obviously any podcast. There are a lot more podcasts than what I've got out there. Mine's more vendor, manufacturer, show-based, to where there's other ones that's got Barbara Bird on there. If you don't know the name, it's because you guys are new. But Barbara Bird is like the number 1, number 2 groomer in the world. Okay? Their recordings might not be as good, but they have a lot of great insight. Okay? Same with a lot of YouTube influencers. A lot of great insight. Okay, so don't stop learning. Now, obviously, as we're ending here, you guys can buy any of these scissors. I got all this stuff with me. I know you guys went through my clipper class. If anyone still needs Red Dipper caddies, I did bring those with me as well. We do got our sheaths. So if you guys already got a collection and need sheaths for that, we got the big ones. Or we've got our little small sheaths here that only fit 3 pair in there. But do got those options for you.
Hey guys, welcome back. I appreciate you guys listening to the end of this podcast, following us all the way through. Hopefully you were able to get some insights on it, be able to understand what you are now holding in your hands every single day. Now, obviously I said it before, like us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. There's different content on each one, so you always get something different. But if you want to take part with us every single time, and make sure that you get all the scoops, the highlights, possibly I should say, all the secrets and sales that we give you guys, please follow us on Facebook and make sure that you tune in every single week. Now, in addition to this being a special podcast, this is also going to be our second week that we are now doing 3 podcasts per week. Now, obviously, this is going to be the big long one. Then we have Wednesday that gets you an update for all the shows going on this week. So you know what's going on around you and around the nation. And then on Friday, try to slow things down a little bit with prayer and meditation with you guys. It's a quick podcast, just that way so it stays in touch with you guys and makes you guys hit that reset. Again, I appreciate everyone who started here listening the very first week. And I appreciate all the new followers as well that's part of this podcast. The whole reason I'm doing this is for you guys. You guys to do good right where you're at. The grooming world, pet industry, in your everyday life. Without you, this would not be possible. I appreciate it, guys. God bless. This, Groomers Talk.